Mindful Coach podcast. Hey, this is Brett, the Mindful Coach, and welcome to this edition of the Mindful Coach podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about something that is really helpful, I hope, because Lord knows we need help these days because the crazy onslaught of news that's disturbing to the bone for a lot of people, including myself. And so I'm trying to summon all of the skills that I have and pass them along to help not only myself keep it together these days, but for other people as well, because it's, as I did in one of my other episodes, which, we can't live in a state of constant outrage. You just can't do it without having a really negative impact on the quality of your life. And to be sure, the quality of our lives is in distress these days. And so we have to reach deep. We have to go deep to connect to something that is more solid and stable than the transient issues of on the news and the hot buttons that you hear all day. It's like crazy making. And it's going to be crazy making. And it is awful for a lot of people. That's just a fact. And so the question is, how are we going to be? How are you going to be? How am I going to be every single day while this is going on? What are the things we can do to help us not just get burned out before we've even had a chance to organize, rally, and adapt to what's going on? One of the skills that I use, I've mentioned these in other episodes, so I really encourage you to go back and look at some of the other episodes that have to do with calming, centering in the storm, and calming, centering and grounding. One of them is curating your inputs. Now, I'm a technical guy, so I think about it. The old adage you've heard of garbage in, garbage out. Well, it's legit that the news that we're getting these days is distressing. And so when you hear it, your nervous system goes, that's just stressing. I can't believe XYZ going down the rabbit hole. And it's a rabbit hole that ought to be gone down by, at some point by some people and maybe you as well. However, there's 50,000 rabbit holes and you can't go down all of them. So you have to curate your inputs so that you can manage your state so that we can be effective people in the world. And that means not being so bent out of shape that we enjoy the people we have around us that we care about, that we enjoy. The sunsets are still beautiful. Dogs are still happy. Babies are still amazing. And it's the flowers and springtime is still happening and mountains are still majestic. All of this is not conditioned on the state of affairs. And there's a part of you, the being, as Eckhart Tolle would call this, being part, is not conditioned on the state of affairs. And I'm not talking about hiding from what is objectively bad. I am saying, though, that to be effective actors in the world, we need to be connected to something that gives us the capacity to be effective in the world. And that we can feel our urge to reach out, to be helpful, to heal, to connect, to collaborate, to empathize, to support, encourage, embrace, all the good things in the world that make people people. Yes, we all want to say a somatic, full body yes, right to that. That doesn't change depending on the circumstances of the day. As Ram Dass said, whether it's the first day of the apocalypse or the last, the mission is the same, to relieve suffering. And so that's the task at hand. And start with yourself. Don't get into doom scrolling at night or first thing in the morning. Curate your inputs. Minimize your exposure to headline news because it's not going to be good most of the time. And so consequently, once a day, catch up on the headlines. So the key is to curate your inputs. Be sure that you don't overexpose yourself to messages that are disturbing. If you hear something bad happen and then you hear it 5 times and you have 5 bad experiences, it still happened. You've just had 5 times the negative experience than if you just heard it 1 time and you hang out with the impact of that once versus 5. So avoid the righteous outrage syndrome where you can just kind of get addicted in a way to feeling passionately enraged and also then potentially disconnected from your own well-being. And I want to be absolutely clear for those people who are going, well, you're just trying to say ignore, don't pay attention to what's going on. And I'm not. I'm saying that you can't run this marathon when you're sprinting the whole way. You have to have a pace. And that means we have to invoke some practices more rigorously than we did before around self-care. So this is, once again, a call for self-care within our lives by curating your inputs, taking responsibility for the impacts of things that you expose yourself to. And this can include people. This can include those around us who are toxic or maybe even just challenging. When you walk away and you feel, oh my God, I feel horrible about that. They dissed me. They diminished me in some way. They were gaslighting me in some way. Those people, I personally have very little tolerance for in my life. And it's not that I'm bad. I'm saying they're bad. I'm just saying I can't tolerate that in my life because I need my resources to kind of be more present so that I can be helpful and do the things that I know how to do to hopefully be a resource for others in these very challenging times. And before I can do that, I have to be a resource for myself. And that's the task at hand. Take care of yourself. The world needs you. The world needs your heartfelt presence, your embodied authority, that you connect to your voice and say, yes, I'm a force for good in the world. I insist on being treated respectfully, and I must manage who I am and my experience in a way that I can fulfill that mission because that's what you were put here to do. And so this is my calling today. Take care of yourself. Curate your inputs. Thank you. The Mindful Coach Podcast is a service of the Mindful Coach Association.